Hello everybody, welcome to Vigilant Citizen. My name is Josh. Thanks for joining me today. You can see that I've switched where I'm sitting because I normally sit right there instead of right here. This is where I sit if I have two people, right? But when I sat there and set this up with my new tripod, you can see, well, you can't see it, but you, dear viewer, are sitting on top of a tripod right now. Tell me if it's comfortable or not. But when I moved it over here where I normally do, and I sat right there where I normally do, it's a little later in the day and it's really well backlit over there, and it made me look like a silhouette. Maybe I should have done it and spoken about some things that were very top secret so you wouldn't know who I was, right? Speaking from out of the shadows. Plus, you might be able to hear it. My sprinklers are going right now, and there's a slight chance that I would get nailed by a jet of water. Not likely, but it's coming right there. It got my dog a moment ago, Jarvis. He was a little perturbed. He has positioned himself perfectly just out of range of the sprinklers. So for all the crap I give him, he's not a dumb dog. Today's drink of choice, this is Sheepdog Peanut Butter Whiskey, which was given to me as a birthday gift from my very good friend Bill. You saw him briefly on the Introduction to Ham Radio video. At the very end, he just popped his head in there. So I haven't tried this yet, and we're going to try it right now. It smells good. It's very smooth, and it's really good. I don't know if it's as good as Screwball Peanut Butter Whiskey. Let's try again. The flavor isn't quite as strong as Screwball, but it's there and it's good. It's funny, on the front of the bottle it says it is 70 woof, and then it's scratched out and says proof, like PR is drawn in there instead of 70 woof, because it's a sheepdog whiskey. Get it? Pretty funny. So anyway, thanks for humoring me on that. I always like to do the drink of the day, especially trying new drinks with all of you. Here you go. You can try it too. Just kidding. I'm in a mood today. I'm in a slightly playful mood, I guess. It's been a good week. I've had my week off of work, and I got some sunshine and had some good friends over yesterday, and so I'm riding high a little bit. So I'll let that carry me through the rest of this because I got to go back to work tomorrow. So, and speaking, it'll be a nice contrast to the topic that I have for you today, which has probably already been spoiled by the title of this video, but that's okay. I'm going to run through a couple things that I've observed and finish by asking all of you a question. So I'm going to do something a little bit different today. Instead of talking about something that I've observed or something that I feel that I've learned that's worth sharing with all of you, well, I'm still going to share something that I've observed or some things that I've observed and then get your take on it. So I really want to see some emails come at me, some comments down below, whether you're watching this on YouTube or Rumble. Just let me know what you think and give me the answer to the question that I'm about to post here in a minute. Obviously, these are shorter videos, so I can't go, and I'm not going to go too in-depth. And it's harder for me to go very in-depth when it's just myself talking to you. If I had a guest on, sitting here in this chair right here, maybe Jarvis can come sit on this chair and be my guest, or Kepler. If I had somebody else to bounce ideas off back and forth, maybe we could go a little bit longer, and maybe I could have a friend come on later and we can talk more in depth about this topic, because this one it can go pretty deep, and it could last, you could have debates and discussions for this for hours on end. But anyway, here are some of the observations I've made about our society, our civilization, our world, especially over the past 2 years, the way things have changed and the way they've unfolded. People's darker natures have been on display and let loose, and it's becoming more and more acceptable, I suppose is the right word. So here are 5 things that I've noticed. So space travel and space exploration is practically non-existent. We have some things going on. NASA doesn't really do. When's the last time we heard about NASA doing something big, right? I know that there's probably a lot of people out there, you might be one of them, who follow NASA and follow all of these things that are going on. What are we seeing with the Hubble telescope or the other telescopes that we've got and whatever. But when's the last time that society sort of stopped for a day and watched. Okay, the sprinklers are switching, so hopefully that doesn't come through too loud. I'm sure you can hear it a little bit. I'll increase the volume of my voice. But when's the last time that our culture, our society stopped to witness something going on in space? In the 50s, 60s, 70s, that's all we talked about. Even not all we talked about, but it was just a subject of societal fascination all across the world. We had the space race between the United States and Russia, and who was going to make it to the moon first, and the US eventually won that race, and all eyes were watching. The whole world was watching. When's the last time we've had anything like that, right? That used to be considered the future. Everything out in space was the future, but nobody talks about it. It's not even in our movies anymore. All of our movies used to be about space and how interesting it was. Star Trek, Star Wars, and Battlestar Galactica, and all these other Lost in Space, things like that. But nothing, it doesn't captivate people the same way it does before. Maybe because we know so much about it now, and there's not as much left for the average consumer of space to explore and understand. I don't know. So that's one. Another one is we haven't seen any feats or marvels of modern engineering for a long time. And I mean something like the Hoover Dam, right? What a modern feat of engineering to construct something like that. What a project. And to have it still standing after all this time. How long has it been over there? 50 years, 40 years, something like that. I'm trying to remember when it was actually constructed, but it's been over there for a while, and it's still holding up and still getting whatever hundreds of or thousands of visitors a day, and still keeping all that water at bay despite the however much water pressure it's enduring on a daily basis. It's amazing. Or even the Twin Towers before they were knocked down. They were modern feats of civil engineering. We don't even have really modern feats of military engineering or weapons or anything like that that's interesting. I mean, remember when all the talk was about ICBMs and what could they possibly do to us, and there was nuclear war. We were always on the edge of nuclear war. Not saying that's a good thing, but we had nuclear warfare was introduced in the 20th century, and nothing like that lately. Again, not saying that's a good thing, but we've had no modern marvels, nothing, again, like the Eiffel Tower. I mean, that was in the 1800s, late 1800s, I think, and just constructing something that tall that's still there and is still a source of wonder and amazement. It seems like all of that is just in the past, just like space exploration. We even have, number 3, we have fewer heroes in general, and this applies to everything, and I mean national heroes, or even in some sense world heroes. I think of Mother Teresa, even Gandhi to some extent, and General George Patton. And even in sports, we used to have sports. Michael Jordan, right? I didn't really follow sports when I was a kid, just like I don't today, but everybody knew the name Michael Jordan, and he seemed like a really good role model. He was an upstanding guy who was really good at his craft, and a lot of youth really looked up to him and what he achieved and what he accomplished in his short life. Not that he's dead or gone or anything, but when he was only in his 20s and he was performing amazing feats at basketball, right? And I look at people playing. I saw a video today on YouTube entitled the MLB is currently in a culture war, and it just came out 3 days ago, and it's talking mostly about how there's showboating now in the MLB, and that used to come with its severe penalties. You could even get kicked off your team or off the league if you did any showboating. And I was watching this video, and this guy was going through comparisons of those who had gone before, back in the 30s, 40s, even the 20s, and their behavior. After they would hit a home run, they would just quietly run around, and there might be a little bit of celebration, like, I don't know if they did high fives back then, but something small like that. Whereas now, MLB players are hitting home runs and then doing these crazy showmanship walks or hops or whatever down to first base before finishing, going around all 4 bases. And it looked like the NFL. It looked like those goons in the NFL who can't not get enough of themselves. That was a double negative. I apologize for that. They just they can't get enough of themselves, and it was an incorrect double negative on top of it, but they can't get enough of themselves, and they're just all about themselves, narcissists. They're always showboating, showing off, showing everybody what they're all about, which is just themselves. And I hate all of that stuff. I don't mind a little bit of a celebration, because obviously your adrenaline's pumping, it's really exciting, and you score that winning goal, or you make that amazing catch to clinch the touchdown and win the game for the whole team. That's exciting, and you should celebrate a little bit. But when it turns inward and it's all about you and yourself and not about the team as a whole or anything, or all the trash talking, I'm sorry, it seems degenerate in some sense. And so our heroes are becoming anti-heroes, the ones that people are actually looking at, and that includes everything: sports, politics, government, anything in general. Like there's nobody really to look up to. Hollywood, right? We used to have John Wayne and people like that. I'm not saying all these people are perfect, but we used to have these kind of people who you could look up to and say, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. That's a good person, upstanding person, moral, at least for the most part. They still make mistakes, but there's something to strive towards. I don't see that anywhere today. And the people who do seem to be like that eventually seem to turn in on themselves and give up on all of that because of overwhelming pressure from like Hollywood, or I don't know, maybe China, or wherever it's coming from. So a lot of times they'll be that kind of person who's upstanding, and then eventually they'll just walk it back and be like, I guess I'm not going to really be that because nobody likes it anymore. So, and those who actually, I guess, sorry, I'm looking at notes here, it shows a lack of respect for people who actually can be looked up to in any sense, as somebody you want to strive to. And a lot of times all these other people are looking at them and tearing them down and disrespecting them, and that's not what they think should be strived for. I don't know. Anyway, number 4, this one kind of encapsulates the first couple, but no earth-shattering inventions or discoveries. I think about things like penicillin, which changed the modern medicinal landscape, right, for decades, generations even, being able to cure tuberculosis, things like that. But we haven't had anything like that in a long time. The steam engine was an invention of great importance and renown, but I mean, or was it steam engine? You know what I'm thinking. Internal combustion engine, that's what I meant to say. But we got nothing like that. Nothing. When's the last time you heard about a great invention that's revolutionized the way we live? You hear about an app every now and then that somebody's written, but that's not a new invention. That's not a disruptor of the marketplace. That's not a disruptor of technology or the way we live our lives. I think the last one, potentially, that really seriously disrupted things and changed things for better or for worse is this little device right here that I'm using to record this right now and communicate to you all with. The internet's probably one. So the smartphone allowing me to connect to the internet and record myself doing this. That was probably the last one, and that was 2006, 2007, maybe 2010, I don't know, somewhere in that arena. But we've had nothing like that lately, and even that was just sort of an extension of the internet, and that's, I mean, now instead of having to be at home and use your phone line to connect to the internet, now you can connect to it wherever you go. So is that really even that much of a disruptor? I suppose in some sense, yeah. But nothing like penicillin or the internal combustion engine. And then number 5, I think perhaps worst of all, the worst indicator of all of this, is there seems to be in our society, culture, and in the world a complete lack of interest of all these things that I've just talked about. And in fact, it's not even just a lack of interest. In a lot of cases, in many cases, it seems like people are trying to actively tear them down. We have things that are constantly being told. I mean, I mentioned John Wayne a moment ago. There's probably a crowd of people out there who heard me say that. They would immediately have a bunch of profanities to throw my way and tell me what a horrible person that I am, and use all of the slang and the vitriolic terms of the day to describe me. But I just don't care, because they're wrong and I'm right. Because these things were great, and a lot of these people don't seem to appreciate what was great, what was good, what made society great. And now all of the focus is on culture change, societal change. How can I get the most number of people to see the world the way I see it? And if they don't how much violence is it okay for me to inflict upon them to get them to change their view? Because, mark my words, it is not 100% acceptable today, but it's coming, and it's coming fast. An argument could be made that it is 100% acceptable only if you have the right views at the right time and you're defending the right people. So all of these things that once made our culture great, and even our world great to some extent, because a lot of these inventions and ideas came from the West and from America, and those cultures, our cultures, have been so great and magnanimous in sharing all of it, sharing it with the whole world. When's the last time before World War II that you saw a country, or World War I even, where you saw a country win all of its wars, or an alliance of countries win all of its wars, and not just annex all of the land of the people who they defeated, right? So even in that sense, the West has been so magnanimous and so giving and thoughtful, and how do we make everybody's lives better? And now there is a concentrated, concerted effort to just tear it all back down and turn it into what? The people who are trying to tear it all down don't even know what they're trying to tear it down into. All they're trying to do is tear it down. And I think this is the most concerning part, and leads me to my final question is, has society, has civilization peaked? Have we went over the hump? Have we gone over the hump, and now we're on the downslope of civilization again? It seems to happen every, 500,000 years or whatever. But are we now on the downslope? And I think the 5 things that I've mentioned here are indicators that we probably have, which is a dismal, gloomy thought, especially for those of us who are a little bit older and have seen how great things could be back when everybody was focused on making these things great. Because now it's the best days are quite possibly behind us. I don't know if that's true. I'm not Nostradamus, and I can't predict the future, not accurately at least. I can predict that the sun's going to come up tomorrow, but that's really about it, and that could even be wrong. It may not happen. And but it just seems to me that things are just getting worse and worse, and we are a civilization now that has killed the I don't know how to describe it, has killed the entity that came before us and is now wearing its corpse as a cloak and just draping it over our shoulders as though we're still great and we're still the ones who've accomplished it, when no, we've seen what others have done and we haven't even taken the next step. We've just taken what they provided us, noise ordinance. They've taken what they provided us and built for us out of their sweat, blood, and tears, and instead of being grateful for it, we have worked so hard to believe and convince ourselves that cause and effect is not real, that real horrible decisions had to be made to elevate us this high as civilization, and that none of this will ever go away, that we'll always have it, and that it was always going to get to this point. And a lot of people seem to think that progress is just progress. You just keep moving forward no matter what, and you don't even have to put in the work. You don't have to sacrifice. You don't have to put in the blood, sweat, and tears to get us here. And so now we're all just riding high, and the roller coaster's going down, and all these people who think that this will always be here are probably in for a rude awakening. I'm not going to go into like prepper territory or doomer territory or anything like that, but I don't think it's unsustainable. Our current society's current mentality is unsustainable. Believing that we don't have to earn this, it'll always be here, and those who came before us were awful people who deserve nothing but our scorn and our hatred, and anybody who appreciates them also deserves our scorn and hatred. And I think that's a pretty good indicator that it's, in some sense, it's over. Wow, so much for riding high, right? I was feeling good, and now I'm just bringing myself down. So I'm going to have another sip of this, and I'm going to call it quits here. I see I'm coming up on 20 minutes. I guess I did go a little bit longer than usual, even though I'm sitting here talking by myself. But I'll leave you with that final question. Has civilization peaked? Is this as good as it is going to have gotten for the next 500 to 1,000 years? Or do you think things are actually getting better? And am I just being pessimistic and I'm observing the negative? What am I missing that could be indicators that I'm wrong on this observation? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Convince me that I'm wrong. Give me some hope out there. Or tell me that I'm right and that this is something that we should all just prepare for and just be ready for and steel ourselves against, both materialistically, physically, and mentally, that this is now the world and this is what we have to deal with. So let me know what you think. Send me an email or shoot me some comments down below. I'd love to read them on the next video that I do, especially if I get some ones that are really thought-provoking. So please share with me those thought-provoking thoughts. And I will do my best to pick a few and read them. So beyond that, thank you so much again for watching and sticking around for the full 21 minutes or whatever we're at now. And stay vigilant, and I will see you next time.